Land of Fire. Now, the ultimate irony, and what we're going to be discussing here with the LA Fires is that somebody pointed out to me, and it's a really interesting fun fact, that the United States right now is completely bipolar. The West Coast is literally in flames. It's on fire. And the East Coast is literally living under a sheet of ice. It's freezing over here on this side of the goddamn country. I can't feel my toesies. I can't feel my digits, my fingers over here. It's getting numb. So I'm figuring if we take the United States, that we do like a folded omelet situation. We just kind of fold it in half like that. We'll balance out. But what have you heard? Have you heard anything recent? What have you heard about these LA fires that have been taking place over on the West Coast?
Nothing really. I mean, it's been all over the place. I just don't really.
Yeah, because you don't give a shit because you're not over there dealing with it.
No, it's not that. It's just I don't know. The media tried to, and maybe you'll understand this a little bit better and can explain it. I really feel like the media tried to make it about celebrities for like a minute, and then people like shut that shit down. Just from the glance that I've kind of saw, like I don't know, the vibe that I noticed, like there were famous people trying to talk about their house burning, and then it just got like a little weird, and then I just stopped hearing about it, and I just know the fire's still going on.
It almost feels like the media got bored.
I think it was like a draw to make money, and I think it like hurt more than it actually helped.
It was almost like the news was the fire, but the fire never went away. It was like a whole week. So they're like, oh, how much more can we talk about fire? So let's spruce it up. The second half of LA Fires is sponsored by TMZ. And then we'll have all these celebrities coming in. And I lost my house, too. On the wrestling front, I don't know if anybody out there realized this, but there's a wrestling story that occurred with the fires. Apparently, former WWE superstar Melina, who lives in that area, went missing. Everybody had assumed the worst. But we're here to validate and let everyone know that she has been found alive and well. Apparently she just ditched her place because her place was much like a lot of the situations happening in LA. It's unsalvageable. They weren't able to save the home. There's a lot of people going through that right now. For those of you who, much like my brother, who haven't been paying attention to the specifics, I know everyone's heard about it. It's on YouTube Live everywhere. It's on your social media. It's there. But the thing about the wildfires happening in California, and I wanted to point this out. This isn't the first time this has happened. As a matter of fact, I think, wasn't it last year? Didn't we start off last year with fire? Or was it earthquakes, I believe we started it off with? It was one or the other.
It wasn't, but at least 2 to 3 years ago where like Oregon and all that stuff that I remember was completely on fire.
Yeah, so like there's something about that area when it comes to the humidity, the course of high winds. There's like a dry spell that goes through that side of the country that's pretty strong for a while, and then this kind of just happens. There was a lot of rumor mill that some of the fires were not naturally started. There were people who were starting those fires, so that's a whole other side of the coin that people have to investigate. But there's been a lot going on that front. We heard stories now of fire departments running out of water, which is interesting considering it's the largest state that neighbors the largest ocean on the entire planet. And I know there's more to it than that. It's not that simplistic. They didn't this isn't a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. They didn't just put a tube in the ocean by the beach and just laid the hose out and just prayed for the best. But there is a sweet irony in the fire department saying, yeah, we ran out of water while they're sitting next to the largest body of water on the entire planet. But it is what it is. And the city of Los Angeles, by the way, is not that far from the ocean. I would know. I was just there. So now I feel 100% like an expert. I was watching the news and I was looking for stuff that I saw, like places that I was. I was just like, oh, that's not over where I was it? Because that place was nice. That place was nice. I hope they still got
I think
that
the
place.
biggest news that came from it that I heard was like the insurance pulling out real fucking quick.
Yes. So
a lot of people are getting screwed because of that because they're allowed to do that, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah. So there was a lot of conversation. Apparently, before this wildfire took place, I saw a video. It was going around. It kind of went viral. Joe Rogan had apparently had some ecologist, whatever, somebody who does terrain, who does the weather, who does all that stuff, and they were on the show talking about how it's a hotbed. It was almost like waiting to happen. At some point,
Oh yeah.
it was just.
I think I saw the same thing.
Yeah,
the guy was pretty much explaining how
it could happen.
Finds it insane. The main thing that stood out for me is that I don't know if it's the same one, but I remember hearing something where the person thinks it's absolutely absurd, considering that it's like a known vulnerability that they don't invest in cleaning the rainforest or cleaning up the forest, like certain debris and things like that. And they went on like an hour rant about how easy it is for that. Once that thing goes up in flames, it's going to be impossible because we don't invest money on keeping that stuff at least cleaned up enough to where you can detain it. And then this happened, and I'm like, I remember that conversation. That's pretty weird.
Yeah, and because of that, because I guess it was such a high potential situation, a lot of these insurance companies have not learned their lesson. They're still playing with fire over here. Luigi didn't get the message across. We ain't fucking around over here. They're still fucking people over with the insurance shit. There's this whole paying, and they're paying for it. That's the crazy part. They're paying for fire insurance specifically for shit just like this. And they're just, oh man, we would love to help you out. You guys look like you're in a hard situation right now, man. This really sucks. This really sucks. I would really love to help you. Unfortunately, and then here comes the bullshit with the whole we can't do this and we can't do that. And so now, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of people now, they're just like, well, I've lost everything. Well, at least I can get some sort of financial backing for a new home. No, see about that, and then nothing. Mm-hmm. And then they won't.
And guess what? All those rates, all those people that had good rates, anybody who had good rates from buying that shit before COVID, good luck.
Yeah, and the sick part is that they're going to say no, that we can't do anything about it, but then if they miss a payment...
Oh, they're not going to miss a payment. They're going to say, sorry, we can't cover you. By the way, friendly reminder, courtesy, your bill is due in 10 days.
The bill.
And it didn't go down, by the way. We took coverage away, but your actual bill did not change.
It's more of the same, I guess you could say. And so they're running into a lot of situations over there concerning that. So I'm going to click on this for just a second. I had this queued up, so I just.
All right, welcome back.
Whoa. Let me. So really quickly, I already sent this to you, right? This is a clip from. I have it here. Boop. There we go. ABC News. There's a guy who's going to come on here. He is the wildfire scientist and fire ecologist. Ecologist? That sounds weird. Ecologist. There you go. That sounds like a regular human being. Chad Hansen. Can I just say for the record, I just love the fact that his name is fucking Chad. That's fucking amazing. But just really quickly, I'm not going to play the whole clip, just enough for him to say his piece here about why he is under the assumption all this is happening. They've done some of the research already. This was posted a week ago, so this was right at the start of everything here, like right in the midst of it. So here's that piece from ABC News. This is on YouTube.
All right, welcome back. As these wildfires spread across Southern California, we know that many environmentalists right now are sounding the alarm on the role that climate change is playing in fueling some of these fires. Joining me with more on this is Chad Hansen, who's a wildfire scientist and fire ecologist with the John Muir Project and author of Smokescreen, Debunking Wildfire Myths to Save Our Forests and Our Climate. Is certainly a worthy cause. So thank you for being here with us. And look, we've been talking a lot about how we knew this wind event was coming. We've also been talking a lot about how it impacts people that live in that, urban wildland interface. And we're seeing that play out in a really scary way out here. So as you watch this, what in particular made this so dangerous? Is it really just the combination of all those factors in this moment, also considering the low humidity?
Yeah, it is. It's a combination of factors that are all coming together at the same time and creating these really, really dangerous conditions. We have a fall and early winter where there's been very, very little precipitation. We have these really dry winds coming at incredible speeds with the Santa Ana winds coming off the deserts and coming down those canyons at hurricane force. And we have communities in the way, and we have these fires that are close to communities, and many communities have already been severely impacted. So yeah, it is that kind of circumstance that doesn't come along that often, fortunately, but it is happening more often because of climate change. That is a factor here.
And so when you're looking at climate change and you believe that that's a factor here, are you looking particularly at the fire starts, or are you looking at the increasing wind gusts here? I mean, they clocked a gust at 100 miles an hour out here today.
Yeah, I mean, some of the gusts, I mean, even for Santa Ana winds, some of the gusts that we're seeing are way on the high end. I mean, this is a rare event. But what I'm talking about mostly is the increase in the area that burns. Ignitions can be a factor, but also just the area that burns. When you have the right conditions, because it's dry, because you have the winds, you're going to get larger fires typically, and more communities impacted for a given ignition. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. And so, for me, it really just underscores the fact that we have to reimagine our policies and our approach to wildfires with regard to community safety. And we need to focus directly on protecting communities through proven methods that we know work, as opposed to trying to manage wildlands and manage vegetation, which does not work.
So there were, like I said, I'm not going to play the whole thing here, but he was mentioning the climate change factor in this, that it's getting drier, that these winds are really irregular. Now they're in California. You visited. You've obviously been to California, but you've been to Oregon, right? Or am I confusing that with Washington? Which one did you go to again?
I went to Oregon.
You went to Oregon. Seattle's in Washington, which is above Oregon. In that area up there, I always hear it's like rainy, like all the time. Like it rains like so much. So Oregon's kind of in the middle. What was the weather and environment like in Oregon? Was it hot? Was it rainy?
So I went up, but when I went up the first time, it was around the winter time ish. So it was, I don't know. I thought it was fine. It was normal. The second time I went up was with my wife. This was after the fires had finally stopped because it was burning for a while. And then we went up there. And, dude, when we drove on the highway to his house, everything was just black. Like, you just left, right. It's supposed to be all trees, but it was all just black stumps all over the place. So it was kind of insane to see, like everything just so burnt. It was very eerie to like drive through. I mean, to him, it was all kind of normal.
Yeah,
he was like, yeah, this happened. Like, yeah, it was crazy. The smoke was crazy, but to me, I was like, oh, this is wild. Like I've never seen anything. Like, you know, you drive on the highway, you look to the left, and you'll just see the mountains. You see the green and the mountains in the distance, and you're like, oh, it was all black. Just black wood, like stumps straight across. So instead of seeing like waves of green, it was just waves of black. It was just, I can't really explain it. It was crazy to see. I'm sure it looks like it now right over there.
Bringing up climate control, climate change, I've heard that one before. So I was watching this, Netflix used to have, I don't know if it still has it or not. It had like a 4-part docuseries, and each episode was dedicated to like another natural disaster. So like a tornado, a hurricane, a volcano eruption, shit like that. And each single one of them was just like, this is what Tornado Alley used to look like, but now because of climate control, I keep saying control. I work for the government. We control the weather. The Tornado Alley has, because of climate change, has shifted. It's like a different path now. Hurricanes are getting further up the coast more than it should, or more than the norm. Or earthquakes are happening more frequently because fault lines are changing. So when he mentioned climate change here, I came to the same conclusion about that side of the country that I do with all of the other ones, which is if this is as bad as it's ever been, you got to be nervous because there's a good chance mathematically it could get worse than this because of the climate change. Now we're getting into a territory where we're in uncharted waters here. Because they're saying it's one of the biggest wildfires they've ever had to deal with, and that comes after the heels of, like you said, about 2 or 3 years ago when we had another one. And Australia had one not too long ago either, where they had a big brush fire as well, a big wildfire that took place over there. So it's starting to get a little, I think the word that was used in that documentary is starting to get a little spooky, just on the way that the planet is kind of adjusting itself to what we've been doing to it. It's acclimating. It's not. We're not destroying it completely and outright, but it's acclimating to it. So now, if I lived in, I don't know, bumblefuck Oklahoma, and I'm right there in that fucking tornado zone, which would be normal for me. It's what I grew up with. It's what my grandparents grew up with, and now my zone is just outside the new tornado alley. I'm just like, yes! Finally, I was 10 toes down. I didn't move. He moved. It's like the tornado punked out. He didn't want this smoke. He's like he left. So it's a lot like we don't get a lot up here, like New York, Philly. We don't get tornadoes. We don't get a ton of hurricanes. We don't get earthquakes. We don't get any of that stuff. The one thing that we do get is extreme cold. We do get blizzards. We do get consistent freezing temperatures up here. Not as bad if you keep going up north, obviously, like Canada or something like that. Like here in New York, it's cold right now, but I'm pretty sure if I was in Maine right now, I'd be pretty pissed at life right now. But yeah, so with the climate change coming in, there's going to be a lot of different things happening there. I'm glad you brought up the situation with the fucking celebrities, because I think the first one that I saw was Zachary Levi. And they were asking him some sort of question, and he looked like he didn't even want to be there, which was hilarious. So they asked him sort of question, and he opens it by saying, first and foremost, I think we should all just take a moment and just send out prayers to the families who did it. And I immediately clicked the button. I said, these motherfuckers are losing their homes, losing their lives. You're going to start bringing the Bible into this. I'm good. I'm going to the next one. Okay? Jesus burned your house down. Don't go to him for advice. This was all part of God's plan. Remember that. Nothing happens by accident. You were chosen. Karma is coming back to get you. So there you go. So yeah, we're gonna keep. This is still going. We're on. I want to say week 2 of this now. Of it still going. So I guess if anything new happens, we'll come back to it next week to see what the end result of that is, what that total devastation is going to look like. But it looks insane when you see different film clips. If you go to YouTube, there's actually a satellite picture of what it looks like in space, and it just looks like someone put a cigarette lighter to the ass of the United States of America. Just right there, boom, it's humongous. So, condolences to those out there who lost all their shit, man, we're hearing now there's just hundreds of people. We're getting closer to thousands of people who have lost their homes, who are displaced. They're going to be going into, the shelter programs over there right now must be out of control. We did the podcast over the summer. There was already an extremely large amount of homeless. So for those of you who live out there, who have been casting aspersions, who have been looking down, sticking your nose above those homeless folks down there, and felt yourself higher than the rest of them. Welcome to the team, kids. Hopefully we can work together and get this whole thing figured out. So I hope everybody out there is doing okay, and I hope this comes to an end soon. I hope they find the water they're looking for to put this out. Yeah, y'all got to come to some sort of come to Jesus meeting over there and get that figured out. So.